Emily was driving home late at night when something caught her eye. The road was empty, and the streetlights flickered in the cold wind. Then she saw it, a dark shape lying near the ditch. At first, she thought it was just an old bag or a pile of trash, but something about it made her slow down. Her heart started beating faster. She pulled over and turned on her car's hazard lights. The rain had started again, soft but steady. Emily stepped out, pulling her jacket tighter around her. As she got closer, her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a pile of trash. It was a dog. The German Shepherd lay there, barely moving. His fur was dirty, matted with mud and blood. His ribs stuck out, and his breathing was weak. Emily dropped to her knees beside him. "Oh no, you poor thing," she whispered. She reached out a hand, careful not to startle him. The dog flinched slightly but didn't have the strength to move away. Emily's heart ached. Who could do this to such a beautiful creature? She looked around, hoping someone might be nearby. Maybe the owner had lost him. Maybe he had run away and gotten hurt. But deep down, she knew the truth. Someone had left him here. Someone had hurt him and abandoned him to die. Emily took a deep breath. There was no time to waste. The dog needed help, and she was his only chance. She ran back to her car and grabbed a blanket from the back seat. Carefully, she wrapped it around the dog, trying to give him warmth. "I know you're scared," she said softly, "but I promise I'm here to help." She lifted him as gently as she could. He was lighter than he should have been, far too thin for a dog his size. He let out a small whimper but didn't resist. He was too weak to fight. Emily placed him on the passenger seat and turned the heater on high. She drove fast but carefully, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. She kept glancing at him, afraid he would stop breathing at any moment. "Stay with me, buddy," she whispered. The drive to the animal hospital felt longer than ever. Every red light made her heart pound. She tapped her fingers on the steering wheel, silently praying he would hold on. Finally, she reached the clinic. It was late, but the emergency lights were on. She jumped out and ran inside. "I need help," she called. A vet tech rushed out, taking one look at the dog and nodding. "Bring him in." Emily carried him inside, where the staff quickly took over. They laid him on a table, checking his vitals. One of the vets frowned as he examined the wounds. "He's in bad shape," he said. "Starved, dehydrated. And these scars, they're not from an accident. Someone did this to him." Emily's stomach twisted. She had feared as much. "Can you save him?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The vet sighed. "We'll do everything we can, but it won't be easy." Emily nodded, her eyes never leaving the German Shepherd. His breathing was shallow, but he was still alive. He had fought to survive this long. She wasn't going to let him down now. Emily sat in the waiting room, her hands shaking. The smell of medicine and disinfectant filled the air. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, each second feeling like an hour. She had done everything she could. Now it was up to the vets. She couldn't stop thinking about the German Shepherd, his lifeless body, his weak breaths, the way he flinched when she touched him. Someone had hurt him badly, but he hadn't given up. He was still fighting. A door opened and Emily jumped to her feet. The vet walked out, his face serious. "How is he?" she asked, her voice tight with worry. The vet sighed. "We stabilized him. He was severely dehydrated and malnourished. We gave him fluids and pain medicine. He also has old fractures. Some bones healed the wrong way. He must have suffered for a long time." Emily swallowed hard. "Will he survive?" The vet hesitated. "He made it through the first few hours, which is a good sign, but he's weak. The next 48 hours are critical." Emily took a deep breath. She wouldn't let him die alone. "Can I see him?" The vet nodded and led her to the back. The German Shepherd lay on a soft blanket in a small recovery room. An IV was attached to his leg, and his breathing was slow but steady. His eyes were half open, watching her. Emily knelt beside him. "Hey, buddy," she whispered. "You're safe now." She reached out her hand, moving slowly. The dog didn't growl or move away. He was too tired, but he didn't look away either. She sat with him for hours, talking softly. She told him about her own dog, Charlie, who had passed away years ago. She told him he was strong, that he would make it. Every now and then, the dog let out a soft breath, like he was listening. The long road ahead. The next day, the vet gave Emily an update. "He's still weak, but he made it through the night." "That's a good sign." Emily felt a spark of hope. What happens next? "He needs rest, food, and care. It will take weeks, maybe months, for him to recover fully. He'll need someone patient, someone who won't give up on him." Emily didn't even hesitate. "I'll take care of him." The vet looked at her. "It won't be easy. He might never be the same. He might be afraid of people forever." Emily nodded. "I don't care how long it takes. I won't give up on him." The vet smiled. "Then he's lucky to have you. A new name, a new beginning." That evening, Emily sat beside the German Shepherd again. His eyes were clearer now, but there was still fear in them. She stroked his paw gently. "You need a name," she said. "Something strong." She thought for a moment, then smiled. "Max. How about Max?" The dog didn't react, but Emily knew it would take time. "You're going to be okay, Max," she whispered. "I promise." For the first time, Max closed his eyes and let out a deep sigh, as if he finally felt safe. Emily knew the journey had just begun, but no matter how hard it would be, she was ready. Max wasn't just fighting for his life anymore. He was fighting for a second chance. Max was safe now, but his journey was far from over. Emily took him home after a few days at the vet. He was still weak, but he was alive. She had set up a soft bed in her living room, right next to the couch, so he wouldn't feel alone. A bowl of fresh water and some food waited for him. But Max just lay there, staring at the floor. Emily watched him, her heart aching. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't lift his head when she spoke. It was as if he wasn't sure if he was really safe. "Hey, Max," she said gently, sitting on the floor beside him. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." Max's ears twitched slightly, but he didn't move. Fear and silence. Over the next few days, Emily saw just how broken Max was. He barely ate. He flinched at the sound of the door closing. When she reached out to pet him, he shrank away, his body trembling. One evening, she tried to put a leash on him for a short walk. The moment he saw the leash, Max's whole body stiffened. His breathing became quick and shallow. Then he backed away, his eyes wide with fear. Emily's heart sank. Someone must have hurt him with a leash before. She dropped it gently on the floor. "It's okay, Max," she said softly. "I won't hurt you." Max didn't move. He just stood there, frozen. Emily sat down beside him, giving him space. She knew she couldn't rush him. That night, she lay awake, thinking about him. Who had done this to him? What kind of pain had he suffered? It made her angry, but more than that, it made her determined. Small steps. The next morning, Emily woke up to find something surprising. Max had moved. Instead of staying in his bed, he was lying on the floor near the couch. It was a small thing, but it meant something. He was starting to feel a little safer. Emily smiled. "Good morning, Max." His ears twitched, but he didn't look at her. That was okay. One step at a time. She placed his food bowl near him, and then stepped back, giving him space. To her relief, after a few minutes, Max slowly stretched his neck forward and took a few bites. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Every day after that, Emily took things slow. She never forced him to do anything. She sat near him, talking softly. She left treats near his bed, waiting for him to take them on his own. After a week, something incredible happened. Emily was sitting on the floor, reading a book, when she felt something warm touch her knee. She looked down and gasped softly. Max had placed his head on her leg. Tears filled her eyes. She didn't move, afraid she would scare him. But her heart swelled with hope. "You're so brave, Max," she whispered. "I'm so proud of you." A long road ahead. Max still had a long way to go. He was still afraid of sudden sounds. He still didn't trust the leash. But that night, for the first time since she had found him, Max let out a soft sigh, closed his eyes, and slept peacefully. Emily knew healing would take time. But she also knew one thing for sure. Max was learning to trust again. And she would never give up on him. Days turned into weeks, and Max was slowly changing. He still had fears. Loud noises made him jump, and sudden movements made him flinch. But he no longer stayed curled up in the corner all day. He moved around the house more. Sometimes, Emily even caught him watching her with quiet curiosity. One morning, something amazing happened. Emily was in the kitchen making breakfast when she heard soft footsteps behind her. She turned around slowly and gasped. Max was standing in the doorway, watching her. For the first time, he had come to her on his own. A smile spread across Emily's face. She didn't want to scare him, so she spoke gently. "Good morning, Max." His ears twitched, but he didn't run away. She bent down and grabbed a piece of cooked chicken from her plate. She placed it on the floor a few feet away from him, and then stepped back. Max stared at it for a moment. Then, cautiously, he took a step forward. Emily held her breath. Another step, then another. Finally, Max stretched his neck forward and grabbed the piece of chicken in his mouth. He chewed slowly, as if he wasn't sure he was allowed to eat it. Emily's heart swelled with joy. "Good boy, Max." For the first time, his tail gave the smallest wag. It was barely a movement, but Emily saw it. It was hope, testing his strength. As the days passed, Max grew stronger. His coat became shinier, and his eyes looked brighter. He no longer cowered in the corner all the time. But there were still challenges. Emily knew he needed exercise, so she tried again with the leash. This time, she let it sit near his bed for a few days, allowing him to get used to it. She never forced it on him. One afternoon, she picked it up and sat down beside him. "Max, do you want to go outside?" she asked softly. Max eyed the leash but didn't back away. Emily gently looped it around his neck. He tensed up but didn't run. That was a good sign. Slowly, she stood and led him to the front door. He followed hesitantly, his steps slow and unsure. When she opened the door, a fresh breeze swept in. The sunlight was warm, and the sounds of birds filled the air. Max hesitated at the doorway. His body stiffened. He looked around nervously. Emily didn't pull the leash. She just waited. "It's okay, buddy. You're safe." Max took one step forward, then another. For the first time, Max was outside. A small victory. They didn't go far, just to the front yard. But it was a big step. Max sniffed the grass, his ears flicking at the new sounds. He was alert, but he wasn't panicking. Emily let him take his time. She knelt beside him and scratched behind his ears. "You're so brave, Max." To her surprise, Max leaned into her touch. Her eyes filled with happy tears. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Max was learning that not all humans were bad. Max was learning that he was loved. The journey continues. That evening, as Emily sat on the couch, Max did something unexpected. He walked over to her, hesitated for a moment, then climbed onto the couch and curled up beside her. Emily smiled and ran her fingers gently through his fur. "You're home, Max." Max let out a deep, peaceful sigh. For the first time, he truly believed it. Max was changing. Every day, Emily saw little signs of progress. He ate more, slept peacefully, and even followed her around the house sometimes. The biggest change: his tail started wagging. Just a little, but it was there. Still, there were moments when fear took over. One afternoon, a neighbor knocked on Emily's door. The sound made Max freeze. His ears went back, and his body tensed. Then, before Emily could react, he ran. He bolted to the corner of the room, curled up, and trembled. His eyes were wide with fear. Emily's heart broke. He still thought people were a danger. She knelt down, keeping her voice soft. "Max, it's okay. No one will hurt you." He didn't move. She didn't try to force him out of the corner. Instead, she sat on the floor, letting him decide when he was ready. After a few minutes, Max peeked up at her. Slowly, ever so carefully, he crawled forward and rested his head on her lap. Emily stroked his fur gently. "You're safe now, Max. I promise." His body relaxed, and for the first time, Emily felt like he truly believed her. Stepping outside, Max was doing better inside the house, but Emily knew he needed more. He needed to experience the outside world without fear. One morning, she grabbed his leash and called him gently. "Come on, Max. Let's go for a walk." Max eyed the leash but didn't back away. That was progress. She clipped it on and led him outside. The fresh air hit them both, and Max sniffed the ground, his ears twitching. This time, instead of freezing in place, he took a step forward. Emily smiled. "That's my boy." They walked slowly down the sidewalk. At first, Max was tense. His eyes darted around, and his tail stayed low. But after a few minutes, he started sniffing the trees, the grass, and even a mailbox. Then, something unexpected happened. A butterfly fluttered past, landing on the ground in front of Max. He tilted his head, watching it with curiosity. Emily held her breath. Would he get scared? Would he run? But instead, Max wagged his tail. It was small, just the tiniest wag, but it was real. Emily laughed, wiping away happy tears. This was the moment she had been waiting for. A friend appears. As they walked back home, a golden retriever and his owner approached. Emily tensed. Would Max be afraid of another dog? The retriever stopped a few feet away, wagging his tail happily. Max lowered his head, unsure. Emily let him take his time. "It's okay, Max. He's a friend." The retriever took a step closer and sniffed the air. Max hesitated then. For the first time, he sniffed back. Emily held back aghast. This was huge. Max didn't run. He didn't growl. He just stood there, curious. The retriever's owner smiled. "Looks like he's learning to trust again." Emily nodded, her heart swelling. Yes, he is. A new beginning. That night, Max curled up next to Emily on the couch, his head resting on her leg. She stroked his fur and whispered, "You're doing so well, Max. I'm so proud of you." Max let out a soft sigh. His body relaxed. For the first time in his life, he felt safe. The road ahead was still long. There would be more fears to overcome, more challenges to face. But one thing was clear. Max wasn't broken. He was healing, and he was finally learning what love felt like. Max was changing, little by little. He no longer hid when Emily walked toward him. He wagged his tail when she spoke. He even started greeting her at the door when she came home. But there was still one thing Max hadn't done. He had never played. Emily had tried. She bought him squeaky toys, balls, and even a soft rope for tug-of-war. But every time she placed a toy in front of him, he just stared at it, confused. It was as if he didn't know what toys were for. One afternoon, Emily sat on the floor and rolled a tennis ball toward him. "What do you think, Max?" she asked gently. Max watched the ball roll, but he didn't move. Emily smiled. "That's okay. We'll try again later." She picked up the ball and tossed it lightly into the air. It bounced and rolled across the floor. And then something amazing happened. Max's ears perked up. His eyes followed the ball as it moved. Emily held her breath. Would he go after it? Max took one slow step forward, then another. Finally, he stretched his neck out and gently nudged the ball with his nose. Emily gasped. "Good boy, Max." Max blinked at her, almost as if he was surprised by his own action. She rolled the ball again. This time, Max followed it with his eyes. Then, slowly, his tail gave a small wag. It wasn't much, but it was the first sign that Max was learning something important. Joy. A visit to the park. A few days later, Emily decided to take Max somewhere new. She clipped on his leash and led him to the car. Max still hesitated before getting inside, but after a few moments, he climbed in. When they arrived at the park, Emily opened the door and let Max step out slowly. The open space, the fresh air, the sound of birds, it was all new to him. At first, he stayed close to Emily's side, but after a few minutes, he started sniffing the grass, taking in the new scents. Then, Emily saw something that made her heart soar. Max lifted his head to the sky and closed his eyes, feeling the breeze. For the first time, he wasn't looking around in fear. He was simply enjoying the moment. Emily wiped away a tear. "You're doing amazing, Max." As they walked through the park, they saw the same golden retriever from before. His tail wagged happily as he approached. Max didn't back away. He didn't run. Instead, he sniffed the retriever's nose, then slowly wagged his tail. Emily's heart swelled. Max was making his first friend. A leap of faith. As the sun started to set, Emily sat on a bench, watching Max explore. Then, something unexpected happened. Max turned to look at her. His ears perked up. And then, he ran. Not away. Not out of fear. He ran toward her. Emily's breath caught in her throat. She opened her arms, and Max leaped onto the bench, curling up beside her. Tears filled her eyes. "Oh, Max," she whispered, stroking his fur. "Look at how far you've come." Max rested his head on her lap, letting out a deep, contented sigh. For the first time, he wasn't just surviving. He was living. And Emily knew, deep in her heart, that Max's journey wasn't just about healing. It was about finding happiness again. Max was no longer the scared, broken dog Emily had found on the side of the road. He was stronger now. His once dull eyes were bright. His tail wagged more often. And best of all, he had learned to trust. But Emily knew there was still one last step for Max: learning to love life. One morning, she woke up to a surprise. As she stretched and got out of bed, she heard soft footsteps behind her. She turned around and gasped. Max was standing in the doorway, holding a toy in his mouth. Emily blinked in shock. He had never picked up a toy before. She knelt down, her heart pounding with excitement. "Max, do you want to play?" Max hesitated for just a moment. Then, slowly, he stepped forward and dropped the toy at her feet. Emily felt happy tears well up in her eyes. This was it. Max wasn't just surviving anymore. He was learning to enjoy life. A day full of joy. Emily picked up the toy and tossed it gently across the room. Max's eyes followed it. His ears perked up. Then, he ran after it. He grabbed the toy in his mouth and trotted back to Emily. Emily clapped her hands. "Good boy, Max. You did it." For the first time ever, Max wagged his tail with excitement. From that moment on, everything changed. Max played more. He chased after his ball in the backyard. He explored the neighborhood with confidence, and he even started barking, not in fear, but in joy. Emily laughed the first time she heard it. "You've found your voice, Max." Facing the past, one afternoon, Emily decided to take Max back to the vet for a checkup. She knew he was healthy now, but she wanted to make sure he was healing well. As they entered the clinic, Max hesitated. The smells, the bright lights, it reminded him of the day he had been rescued. Emily knelt beside him. "You're safe, Max. I'm right here." Max looked at her, his deep brown eyes filled with trust. Then, he took a step forward. The vet smiled when she saw him. "Wow, Max. Look at you. You don't even look like the same dog." She examined him carefully, checking his scars and his weight. "He's perfect," she told Emily. "You saved him." Emily shook her head and smiled. "No, he saved himself. A forever home." That night, as Emily curled up on the couch, Max jumped up beside her. She laughed. "You really love the couch, don't you?" Max wagged his tail and rested his head on her lap. Emily stroked his fur, thinking about everything they had been through. The pain, the fear, the healing, and now, the happiness. She whispered softly, "You're home, Max." Max let out a deep sigh, his body relaxed and peaceful. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't lost. He wasn't unwanted. He was loved. And he knew, deep in his heart, that he had found his forever home. Max had come so far. He was no longer the weak, frightened dog Emily had found. His coat was shiny, his body strong, and his eyes full of life. But more than anything, he was happy. Every morning, Max greeted Emily with a wagging tail. He would sit by the door, waiting for their daily walk. He loved sniffing the grass, feeling the sun on his back, and running freely without fear. He had made friends, too. The golden retriever from the park, whose name was Charlie, became his favorite playmate. They would chase each other around, tails wagging, barking with excitement. Emily watched them, smiling. This was what Max deserved. A life filled with love. A special surprise. One morning, Emily had an idea. She wanted to do something special for Max. She went to the pet store and bought a brand new dog bed, soft blankets, and a big bag of his favorite treats. When she brought them home, Max sniffed everything curiously. He tilted his head, looking at her as if to ask, "Is this for me?" Emily laughed. "Yes, Max. This is all yours." She set up the bed in the living room, near the couch, his favorite spot. Max sniffed it once, then immediately curled up inside. Emily sat beside him and stroked his fur. "You've come so far, buddy. I'm so proud of you." Max let out a happy sigh. For the first time in his life, he had a place to call his own. A stormy night. One evening, dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Max had never experienced a storm before. When the first crack of thunder shook the house, he jumped up, his ears flat against his head. His body tensed, and he let out a low whimper. Emily saw the fear in his eyes. The old Max was still inside him, afraid of the unknown. She moved closer and gently placed a hand on his back. "It's okay, Max. I'm here." He didn't run. He didn't hide. Instead, he pressed his head against her arm. Emily smiled softly. He trusted her now. As the storm continued outside, Max curled up beside her. His body relaxed, and soon his breathing became steady. Emily knew then Max had finally learned that he was safe. A forever bond. Months passed, and Max's journey continued. He was no longer just a rescue dog. He was family. One afternoon, as Emily sat in the backyard reading a book, Max ran up to her, holding his favorite toy. She laughed. "You want to play, huh?" Max wagged his tail excitedly. Emily threw the toy, and Max took off running, full of energy and joy. He returned, panting happily, his eyes shining with love. As the sun set, Emily looked at Max, feeling her heart swell. She had saved him that fateful day. But in many ways, he had saved her too. Max had taught her about patience, about kindness, and about the power of love. She reached out and scratched behind his ears. "I love you, Max." Max leaned into her touch, his tail wagging. And in his own way, he told her he loved her too. Because for the first time in his life, Max had everything he had ever wanted. A home, a family, and love that would last forever.